Hey everyone, welcome to the Commissioners Clubhouse on the LCC Network for Super Bowl weekend. But some of you guys will probably listen to this after Super Bowl, so that's cool. You can laugh at kind of the blunders that we make on this episode. But with me today, I've got Isaac, like always. What's up, man?
What's up?
And we got Jameson too. What's going on?
Hey, yeah, I'm excited. Fun podcast, fun game. A couple, the rundown, one quick announcement. We got slow your roll players, bounce back and breakout players, and then Super Bowl predictions. So we'll go ahead and get started. Announcement real quick. Again, payment for the 2019 fantasy season in our league is due no later than March 3rd, ideally before late February. So get that into us. If you have any questions, just let us know.
You have 1 month, people. 1 month from today.
1 month exactly. So get on it. So a couple segments here. This is all kind of IDP player focused. So slow your roll candidates. We want to talk about players that were hot last year, that broke out last year, that we expect to take a step back this season. So we realize we may have some people listening outside of our league. So just wanted you to know that the scoring may be a little different, but the same general principles should still apply. So I hope this information is relevant beyond just our LCC league we got here. So you guys ready? We'll get started.
Let's do it.
Man, go ahead.
All right, here we go. So I'll go ahead and start. I got Adam Thielen as my slow your roll candidate. He finished as a number 7 wide receiver in our league last year, which was great. He was the number 1 for the first half of the season in many leagues. But in the second half of the season, he 7 of his last 8 games specifically, he didn't even eclipse 20 points, which in our league is probably equivalent to 9 in a standard league, so it's not good at all. I think there's going to be less opportunity for him next year. Minnesota fired their offensive coordinator in the last quarter of the season because they want to run the ball more. Evident by Mike Zimmer saying, we want to run the ball more. And so I think there's going to be an emphasis on that. Dalvin Cook's going to be healthy. When he comes back, he's hyper efficient running the ball, which we've seen. So I don't have any concerns with him. I think that they want to keep the ball out of Cousins' hands more. And they want to kind of lean on that defense in that running game. So I think there's going to be a little less opportunity for Thielen. Not to say that he won't be successful. This is not to say don't draft these guys. But I don't think he's going to finish number 7. I think he maybe kind of a high wide receiver 2, high to mid-tier wide receiver 2 next season, especially with Dalvin Cook and Stephon Diggs there to siphon targets from him. So what do you guys think? Any thoughts on him before we move on?
Yeah, man, I couldn't add anything more on to that.
Okay. Patrick?
Yeah. No, I agree. I definitely, I could see him falling a little bit, but no, I think you nailed it kind of on the head there.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad I'm so smart. Adam Thielen?
Boom. Roasted.
So we'll kind of move on here. Isaac, you've got a quarterback. Tell us about him.
Yep. Now, I'm not saying don't avoid him. Just temper your expectations. He was hot last half of the season last year, and his name is Lamar Jackson, Baltimore Ravens quarterback. Now, defenses will figure out how to slow him down running. I mean, just think Kaepernick. He was awesome his first year. I mean, nobody could stop him, Kaepernick. I mean, they went to the Super Bowl because nobody could figure out how to scheme against him. I mean, they did the next year, and every year after that, they slowly turned him down. He wasn't as productive. And there's also no superstars on that offense for him to get the ball to. Well, as of right now, they could this offseason. I mean, they got Crabtree, John Brown, I think, is about to be a free agent again. I mean, they have no running game as of right now, or at least no established guy. And his arm talent's kind of worrisome. It's not like a Michael Vick, who actually has a cannon. I mean, Lamar Jackson's kind of iffy throwing the ball. I mean, if you watched him in the playoffs, he didn't break 100 yards till like the third or fourth quarter. So passing, that is. But, I mean, he'll still be efficient, but nothing like he was the previous year.
Yeah, no, I think he's got a high floor because of his running game, but I think they're not going to be able to control the ball like they were last year. Number 1 in time of possession, that great running game, that great offensive line. I think that, like you kind of mentioned, when he has to throw the ball, I think that's where he's not his best. And I think we've seen running quarterbacks in the past not be able to succeed year over year over year over year. Cap, RG3, they have to have some ability to throw the ball like Cam Newton and Russell Wilson. So we'll see. But yeah, I agree. I don't think he's someone who should be drafted as highly as some people might think. So
Yeah,
But,
I think it's. I was about to say I think it's just going to come down to the offseason, what the Ravens do. If they don't add anything, then yeah, I think you should temper your expectations there.
All right, Lamar Jackson.
Boom. Roasted.
Who do you got, Patrick?
I've got none other than the so popular Nick Foles for a lot of Eagles fans. But here's the deal, man. If you tell me your starting quarterback has 7 TDs and 6 picks within the 4 games he played as a starter, man, I'm telling you right now, that is not an elite starting quarterback, and you shouldn't consider him that, not even at any level of football. And that, on top of that, you throw the fantasy-wise, heck no, man. If you're drafting Nick Foles, I'm sorry, you're going to be very disappointed. Winning percentage in the NFL does not necessarily translate to fantasy success, i.e., look at Cam Newton. The man has been on fire ever since he entered the league his rookie year. On top of that, has he made the playoffs every year? No. Has the team been great every year? Definitely nope.
Isaac, we don't need
exactly.
We don't need you commenting in about.
Just to let everybody know, I'm a Bucs fan, so like anytime I can jump in and trash the Panthers, I will.
Yeah.
No, but like I said, I just honestly with the little bit we saw this past fantasy season, I don't think you should even consider him putting on your fantasy roster unless you're in a 32-team league and you literally have to use every single quarterback in the NFL. Then sure, go ahead. But outside of that, no, definitely don't think about this guy.
Especially not knowing where he's going to be, when he gets traded.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's a system quarterback, and a system quarterback, when they get moved, you got to be really weary of what's going to happen with them. So, I agree.
Or system players in general. I mean, system running backs, system wide receivers. It's not just quarterbacks, but yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see where he goes next year.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even mention this, but he only scored 30-plus points twice this past season in our fantasy league, which 30 points, that's like the bare minimum you need to be considered a starting fantasy quarterback in our league. So there you go. I mean, I think that says it all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, anything else before we move on to our defensive slow your roll candidates?
Nope, you got to do boom roasted though.
Oh, sorry about that. Nick Foles?
Boom. Roasted.
There you go.
So defense.
Next.
I've got Chris Jones here as my defensive slow your roll candidate. Kansas City defensive lineman. He finished number 7 in our league despite ranking number 23 in snap counts. So he's hyper efficient. 238 fewer defensive snaps than Myles Garrett, who was an IDP star. Yannick Ngakoue, Jaguars defensive lineman, finished right behind him in snap count and was 34 ranked defensive lineman in our league. Chris Jones was hyper efficient this season. For as relatively little as he played, I don't trust him to repeat that over and over and over, year over year. Other players haven't done it. Why would he do it? On top of that, Kansas City's average time of possession this season was ranked 26th, which means that their offense was on the field very little because they scored so quickly. Their defense was on the field more. I expect regression from the KC offense, which means they're going to be on the field more often. They're not going to be, they're moving first downs instead of throwing it 50 yards for a touchdown so quickly, which means less time for defensive players like Chris Jones. So not to say avoid him, but I don't think he finishes at number 7 next year. I think he's more in that 15 to 20 range. So again, not awful, but I sense regression on the horizon for Chris Jones. So any thoughts?
Yeah, to add to that, I mean, obviously he's not going to do too much as far as snap counts because, I mean, that's a big fella, man. That is a big boy, and he gives his all every time he's on the field. If you ever watch him, I mean, he's making plays all over the field. I mean, even as a big old defensive lineman. So they sub him in, sub him out to keep him fresh. So, yeah, his snap count's not going to be the best, but he is on the field. When he's on the field, he's really efficient. But like you said, you really don't know how much or what he's really going to do until it's already happened. So
yeah,
I would just be cautious about drafting him too high, and that's it.
Yeah, he's a package player. Absolutely. Chris Jones?
Boom. Roasted.
Anyone getting tired of that yet? Can I keep doing that, or you guys don't like that?
No, keep doing it.
Okay, all right, Pat. Who do you have as your defensive IDP or defensive guy? Slow your roll guy.
Yeah, no, this guy I legitimately think he'll be a tier 2 to tier 1 linebacker. But you do need to temper his expectations. That's Darius Leonard. He had 163 tackles in 2018 with 6 turnovers. But here's the thing. The last time a player had 160-plus tackles was in 2013. It was Vontaze Burfict and Paul Lindsay. Listen, man, that's 5 years it's been since the last time that's happened. That's a big red flag to me. But then couple that with the fact that not a single player since 2001 has racked up 160 plus tackles in multiple seasons, let alone back-to-back years. So with all that on the board and the fact that, typically when you look at the league leaders in tackles, most of the top 5 guys are hovering around 140-ish, 140 to 150. I mean, that in our league where tackles are rewarded heavily, I think you definitely need to sit back and tell yourself, listen, I think Darius Leonard is going to be good. He's even going to be great. But do not expect 2018 production in 2019 because you're going to be highly disappointed.
I agree.
That is a bold statement, Cotton. We'll see how it pays off.
Yeah, it plays out. I agree with that, though. I sense regression. I don't sense him being awful. He's still a top 10 linebacker, easy. Probably a top 5 linebacker. But, yeah, I sense regression from Darius Leonard. 140 is the high normally. I mean, that's the high. 160 is unreal.
I don't think he drops to a tier 2. I think he's going to stay at high tier 1 or a low tier 1 or a mid tier 1. I don't think he's going to drop that low because he is very productive when he's on the field.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I like that, though. Isaac, who do you got? Oh, wait. Darius Leonard?
Boom. Roasted.
All right, Isaac.
All right. Next. Now, I'm not saying this guy is going to be drafted high, but if you base your draft board off of last year's production, this guy finished 16th among DBs last year, and is no other than Damontae KZ, defensive back out of Atlanta. He was forced to the lineup with Keanu Neal and Ricardo Allen's injury. His year was up and down. He had some good games, some bad games. I mean, I would know he was on my team. So when these guys come back and they're healthy, I really don't know how much he's going to play. They could plug him into certain packages, maybe like a slot, or they run a cover 3 a lot in Atlanta, so maybe he'll get put in on certain cover 3 situations. So I would just be very cautious. I actually probably wouldn't even draft him, honestly, unless it's like a very late pick, just to see how things go out. Is he going to start in case of Ricardo Allen? Because Neal's got that strong safety locked down. So that free safety, he can compete with Ricardo Allen in preseason, so we'll see how that works. But I would be very cautious and not target him this coming year.
Yeah, no, I agree with that assessment. I think he's going to be a package player. I think he played well enough to play himself into a partial role, but he's not going to play over those 2 guys for sure. So definite regression from him. Any thoughts from you, Pat, before we move on?
No, I think, like you said, I just don't see him putting up those similar numbers when the Falcons get a little bit more healthy this offseason. I definitely look for this guy to be a late-round pick, if it's even picked at all.
Okay. Damontae KZ?
Boom. Roasted.
And all the slow your roll guys. So before we move right into kind of our breakout and bounce back players, real quickly, we had a lot of guys on this list. Isaac, you and I did a lot of editing on the content later in the week. We had a bunch of players we cut information out from just for the sake of time. So there's a lot of guys we didn't mention. If we didn't mention them, don't freak out. We're going to have some later things in the offseason about expectations and whatnot. We'll kind of mention some of those players. But if you can't wait till then, you want to talk about them, you want to comment about them, feel free to comment in the video, email, or if you're in the LCC and you want to comment on the boards, whatever you want to do. Feel free to start some discussions there. So we always look at that kind of stuff, but just so you know, we didn't forget about a lot of other players, honorable mention guys. So, all right, Isaac, you want to go ahead and lead us into our next one?
Yep. All right. So this is the bounce back players or people that we think are going to break out this year. All right. So offense, I kind of biased here, or not biased. I don't know.
Just a little bit.
But I'm saying just a little bit. I'm just saying that. And I did not choose a person. I chose a group. And I'm choosing Tampa Bay running backs. None of them were fantasy relevant last year. None of them. I mean, our running game was awful. But Bruce Arians is the new head coach this year. So, and he also developed this no-name guy out of northern Iowa named David Johnson. Not saying that he did it by himself, because I mean David Johnson is talented, but Arians took him to that star level that we all know and love in the fantasy world when he was back then. And he also said that he was going to revamp our offensive line and it was going to be a priority. Um, we already invested a second-round pick in Ronald Jones last year, so it's going to be very interesting to see, does he go another running back really high, or does he get a late-round pick on another running back if he feels confident enough in Jones? Honestly, I wouldn't draft Jones very high or the rookie, because you don't know which one's going to do. It's going to have to be a decision that's going to happen later on throughout the preseason. It's going to be a battle for that starting job. So I would hold off on drafting a Tampa Bay running back. But I feel once somebody does get the mantle, that they will put the pedal to the metal and be fantasy relevant in 2019.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last week with Bruce Arians. We like what he's going to do for Tampa's offense. We think a lot of pieces there, great offensive mind, someone who likes to go deep with the ball. I think that fits Winston's skill set. I hope whoever they use, they utilize him. Whoever they choose to use, they utilize him like David Johnson in order to be fantasy relevant. I think Ronald Jones probably has the most ability, maybe because he's younger. I don't think Peyton Barber's a receiving back, but I don't like Ronald Jones a lot. I would definitely want to see maybe a new guy or I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I like that assessment.
Peyton Barber's actually a power back, and his contract's up, so it's going to be really interesting to see if we even pick that up. We don't have enough cap space to go and sign the biggest free agent running back out there with no Le'Veon Bell or anything like that. So he's going to have to stick young and stick cheap. So it's going to be interesting to see how things work out.
Yep. Speaking of Le'Veon Bell, I can't wait till we get to do the free agency predictions episode where we can talk about Le'Veon Bell and all those guys.
I'm excited about that too, man.
That's going to be a fun one. So, all right, Pat, you got a quarterback here for your offensive bounce back player. Who is it?
Yeah, and you could honestly argue that he's breakout too, considering he hasn't really done much in his career so far, and that's Derek Carr. He finished 18 among QBs in our league. I would imagine he finished somewhat similar in a lot of other leagues too. But listen, man, he named me the weapons that he's had since he's been in the league.
Cooper.
Amari Cooper. There we go. Dude, if Amari Cooper is your weapon on your offense, you've got bigger problems. And the Cowboys can get away with it because they actually have a good offensive line. They have an elite running back there too. And it's just constantly getting beat up too, man. Derek Carr is getting beat up. He doesn't have any weapons. I'm not a Raiders fan. I'm really not even a Derek Carr fan. But I see him having a bounce back year. And this is do or die for Carr. I mean, honestly, we're entering that part of his contract where if he doesn't start picking up the pace, I think John Gruden's going to look elsewhere after this year if things don't change. He's going to have to, otherwise his job's going to be in the line too.
He's proven that he will definitely trade you.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Or cut you.
Or cut you.
I mean, I know he was a Tampa Bay coach. He will cut you or draft somebody else to replace you.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's cutthroat with that. And then not only that, but listen, as bad as the Raiders were this past year, has anyone seen their cap space? It's crazy, dude. They have the 5th most cap space in the league. They've got 3 first-round picks. The team can only go up from here, and that excites me when I see Derek Carr at 18, when he's kind of like one of the better QB2s in fantasy football. So, yeah, no, man, I'll take Derek Carr if I'm one of the last teams searching for a quarterback in the draft. I'll take Derek Carr. I'll roll with that. I mean, I'm not going to expect much. I'm thinking what we're going to kind of see this year is low-end QB1 numbers or even a little bit higher production on QB2 for him. Like I said, if you're a team like me who kind of waits a little bit longer to get your quarterback, I'll be totally happy with Derek Carr. Give me Derek Carr. If 12 other guys have been picked before me.
Well, we've seen Derek Carr.
And the reason they have Go ahead.
We've seen Derek Carr in 2016 when he led the Raiders to the playoffs. Like he has that potential. I mean, they were talking very briefly about MVP candidate during that season before breaking his leg and everything. So I mean, he definitely has that potential. But like you mentioned, he has no weapons. Like Seth Roberts, Jared Cook, everyone not named Marshawn Lynch. I mean, who is even on that
Hey,
team?
don't hate on the South Carolina alumni Jared Cook now.
Well,
Me and Pat will get
I
you.
don't mean to, but
That's
like
right.
everyone's like, oh, he's like these are his weapons. Like, no thanks. I don't blame him for not not performing. So, and John Gruden, don't even get me started on him. But anyway, any
Old
thoughts on
Chucky.
Deion? Ugh.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a reason the Raiders have so much cap space. It's 'cause they got rid of everybody that was in the contract year. They just cut everybody that was expensive on the team. So yeah, they have a lot of cap space to play with.
That's true. Yep. Awesome. Well, I'll move on. My guy here, offensive breakout candidate, DJ Moore. So he finished in our league as the number 34 receiver. Just for comparison, Calvin Ridley was number 23 in our league. So
And that's a little biased
what do you mean?
as a Panther fan.
Oh yeah,
Throwing in
yeah, maybe just a little bit. I didn't actually draft him, even though my team is named after him. I didn't draft him. I didn't didn't love him last year, but he only had 2 games with 25 plus points. And in our league, that's a big deal because you get a point for every catch, you get a point for every first down, scoring bonuses, 10 points for a touchdown. Like if you're not getting 25 from your receiver every week, you're disappointed. That's the floor. He had 6 games with single digit points. And that was with Greg Olsen out. Devin Funchess was out for a little bit. With no other weapons, he still wasn't getting the ball. So I think there's a ton of room for improvement. Carolina's offense was top 5 in rushing last year, but only ranked 16th in passing offense. So there's a lot of room there for improvement with a healthy Cam Newton and hopefully a stronger offensive line. We had some injuries there last year. I think Devin Funchess is done. Whether it's this season or next, I don't think he's a reliable wide receiver 1, and so I don't see anyone standing in front of DJ Moore. I think that Greg Olsen, I think he's on the edge of his career and everything too. So DJ Moore, I'm predicting maybe a mid wide receiver 2, which would be a big jump from a bottom wide receiver 3. But he's definitely something I'm going to be looking at next year as we go into the offseason, or into the preseason.
I mean, as a Tampa Bay fan, I was really high on him. And the another guy that was really high on him was Steve Smith. If you guys watched the draft, he stated that this was going to be the guy that finally replaced him since Steve Smith left Carolina, and that's a big booster.
Yeah, big
to
endorsement.
get that from a Panther. Yeah, from a big Panther legend. So he believes in him. I was really happy with him when he was coming out of Maryland. So yeah, nothing to go but up right now for him.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Pat, you want to, I guess, talk about your defensive guy? Or,
Yeah,
sorry, Isaac.
Yeah, I was about to say you're skipping
Sorry,
someone
man.
now.
I scrolled too far down on the show doc. I was way ahead of things. My bad.
Trying to skip me. All right, so my bounce back player in our league defensive, it was C.J. Mosley, Baltimore Ravens Baltimore Ravens linebacker. Well, he's the quarterback of the defense if you want to think about it like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
He can't throw any worse than Lamar Jackson, I guess.
Yeah,
Right.
that's not saying much. He had over 100 combined tackles 4 out of his 5 years, and that 1 year that he didn't, he had 92. So he was like at the back door of it. He averages 79.6 solo tackles and 39.8 assisted tackles per season. That is 119.4 combined tackles average. He's only missed 3 starts in his 5-year career. He's only 27, so that's around prime area for a linebacker. Usually when you think about other sports, prime's like 28 to 31, somewhere out there when you become a man, I guess, in a way, in the sport. But for a linebacker in football, about 26 to about 29 is usually the area where they shine the best. Unless it's like a guy like Darius Leonard who just comes out when he's, 23, 24. But anyway, not saying he's going to be a top 5 linebacker, but he's going to be much better than his 37th ranked linebacker that was in 2018. So, like I said about the other guy, there's nowhere to go but up with him. If you get a chance to draft him. You will not be sorry. He is going to produce. He might have some slow games, but he's still going to be a solid pick for you.
Yeah, a couple of things I want to. So C.J. Mosley's been a fantasy stud for a few years now. I know because he's beat me down on a few occasions, and I think something else that happens here is Baltimore was 3rd in 3 and outs. They were ranked 3rd in the league and 3rd, and that defense was. So that means that they're playing 3 plays and then they're off the field. 3 plays and they're off the field. They did that more often than everyone but 2 other teams. So there's not a lot of time on the field for CJ Mosley, relatively speaking. If we expect regression from this offense and more time on the field, less time on the field for the offense, that's more time on the field for the defense. That's more tackle opportunities for CJ Mosley. So yeah, I expect improvement there for a couple reasons. So I think that's a good pick there. So
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Well, you know what, man? You're welcome. You are welcome. Patrick.
I mean, how many times you gonna say our names wrong? I mean, damn.
I'm calling my grandma right now, man, getting the whole family name mixed up.
So they don't know. This is our second time doing this show because Patrick's mic messed up the first time. So I am all like thrown off. I'm worn out.
That's what she said.
That's what she said.
So I'm a little distracted, but go ahead, Pat.
All right, so my guy for sure. Oh, and take a step back. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Isaac. 37. Come on, man, he can easily beat that. CJ Mosley will end up doing a lot better than 37 in 2019. Anyways, Melvin Ingram is my guy who I really think. When you look at the numbers, it's hard for me to say that he's not going to be a solid defensive bounce back player, and that may surprise some people, but he was ranked 29 among defensive linemen and had 914 snaps. That's a lot of snaps for him to end up that low in this list. And again, this is based off the scoring and the Little Critters Clubhouse Fantasy League. But listen to this. I mean, with the same amount of opportunity in 2019, there's no reason he shouldn't be averaging around 20 plus points a game this coming year. I mean, consider the fact that he didn't have Joey Bosa for a great deal of the season. The guy was getting double teamed all game long, most games, and it was wearing him out. Especially when you have 914 snaps, man, it takes a toll on you. And when you look at the fact that he only averaged 16 points a game, I don't see why he doesn't average more than that. And especially considering just 2 years ago, he averaged 22 points a game and finished 24th. Or no, sorry, he was averaging even 24 points a game in 2016. I think we're going to see a bump back up into the 20s this coming year. And wouldn't surprise me if he's a tier 2 defensive end now that he's going to have Joey Bosa back for the majority of the year. Or hopefully the entire season.
I would say nothing really to add to that, but I just want to say shout out to another Gamecock alumni, Melvin Ingram.
Yeah.
Defensive lineman for the Chargers.
Yeah, man.
L.A. Chargers, not San Diego.
I'm still used to saying San Diego.
Yeah.
It still happens. Yeah. All right, cool. So I'll go ahead and talk about my guy here. Another South Carolina alum.
What? Shout out.
DJ Swearinger. Can you guys tell where we're from? Can you tell where we live? DJ
South Kakalaki.
South Kakalaki. Arizona defensive back, not Washington defensive back. He's usually a very reliable DB. He's finished number 57 in our league, which is just unreal. So before he was traded to Arizona, he had 9 games.
He wasn't traded. He was flat out released.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know why I said traded. When he was released and picked up by Arizona.
I think he insulted the defensive coordinator or something. They just cut ties with their star on defense. It made no sense to me.
Yeah, he questioned his play calling, and then they cut him right away. He still had 9 games where he had 20 plus points, which is not 20 is not great, but it's solid. And he still had 9 of those, and he only played 14 games. And here's another thing that was huge, Isaac. You and I saw this when we were going.
That's what she said.
Hold on.
That's what she said.
We're never gonna finish this episode. You and I saw this when we went through the defensive data. There were 3 Cardinal DBs in the top 21 last season in our league. So the numbers might adjust a little bit, but the principles stay the same. That the defense for Arizona was on the field so often, and their passing offense was so bad that the secondary was just gobbling up tackles and whatnot. So I think he's going to be a starter. I think Buffet is aging. Trey Boston's not even coming back. I don't think. I know his contract is up. So I think DJ Swearinger is going to lock in right next to Budda Baker, and I think he's going to be a top 12, top 15 DB next season. So I think there's.
And
a
I
lot
just
there.
want to clarify, Bethea's not aging. He's already aged. He's like 34, 35. That man's old. He's an old man out there with a cane
roasted.
playing safety.
That's right.
Playing safety for the Cardinals.
He is an old man. So, kind of last point, they had the worst time of possession in 2018 by almost a full minute, which is unreal. I don't think their offense gets much better this year. First year coach, Josh Rosen, not a lot of weapons. So I think it still means a lot of opportunity for defensive players. And I think DJ Swearinger, man, he is going to skyrocket back into where he was. He's locked in as a top 15 DB in my opinion, no doubt. So.
Yeah, I mean, Cardinals has produced some awesome DBs over the years. I mean, if you even go back to Tyvon Branch last year was averaging like 40 points a game in our league for a defensive back, and then he got hurt. I mean, all they do is produce awesome DBs. So, yeah, trust me, if I get a chance to draft him next year, believe me, he's going to be very high on my draft board.
Yeah, he's on my list. All right, so
not if I get him first.
Good luck with that.
I forgot you did finish worse than me. Got him.
Really, guys? Here, hold on.
Boom, roasted.
Yeah,
there we go.
You just roasted yourself.
Bodied, yeah. So we'll go ahead and move on. Super Bowl predictions. I know you guys are listening to this after the Super Bowl. But we still wanted to kind of give these predictions, see how right we would be. Just to toot my own horn, I was the only guy who got the Rams and the Patriots in the Super Bowl from a couple weeks ago when we did our picks here. So
boom. Go ahead and tell them what you won on the ESPN League. Tell them what you did.
Are you on the fantasy? What was that thing called?
The Survivor Pool, right?
The Survivor Pool. I won. Yeah, I was one of 173 people that won the Survivor Pool on what is that? FanDuel, on FanDuel this season. So a lot of money from that.
Hey, tell them how much you won. Just give them an estimate.
An estimate? It was more than $5, but less than $100,000.
Oh my God, that's terrible. I was gonna say
that gives me a good idea. I can get a good idea from that.
Yeah. You have a good idea of how much it was. It was like $1,500. It was pretty good. So
yeah. So you guys, along with me, need to hop up on that. I mean, just take a chance. You have nothing to lose. Wasn't it free to join with that?
It was free. Yeah, it was free. It didn't cost any money at all.
Exactly.
So Isaac, you're making it harder for us to win now.
Yeah, I think now everyone's going to get in and ask for my advice, and now I'm going to get less money next year.
No, it's okay. I'm just going to pick whatever Jameson picks next year, so I'll just be right next to
it. So I like to think I know what I'm doing. I don't know how much of it was luck and how much of it was actual skill, but, it was pretty cool. So with that in mind, we're going to go through our predictions real quick. Anybody want to start? I know, Pat, you're first on the show, Doc. You want to go ahead?
Yeah. Let me kick it off. I'm pretty excited about the Super Bowl. It's one of those things, ever since I was a kid, I've always just gotten super excited for, even though the Panthers most of the time are not in it. So you can only imagine when they are in it how much more excited I get.
Oh man! And the fact that they're 0-2 in the Super Bowl, boom, roasted.
Oh man. Anyways,
I'm not boom roasting that, Isaac. I'm not boom roasting.
Anyways, no man. If you're the person out there that's saying, man, I'd bet everything I own that the Rams are going to walk away with the Super Bowl, either one of two things. One, you're under the age of 18 and you have not been alive for the majority of Tom Brady's success, or at least lived it and remember these Super Bowl wins, or you're just completely ignorant and don't know anything about the NFL. Because Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, I'm not saying it's impossible that they lose this game, but if I was a betting man, and I kind of am, I would definitely, and I am, going with the Patriots in the Super Bowl, man. You've got some veterans, and I get it. People are saying, yeah, you take the weather out of the game, you take the crowd out of the game, and you're just looking at these athletes for who they are. And obviously the Rams are bigger and, honestly, in my opinion, even faster than the Patriots are. Yeah, I could see why you would say the Rams are going to win. But to me, Brady is – oh, man, I hate it because I'm pulling for the Rams in this because I hate the Patriots, the passion. but I just don't see them winning, man. I've got the Patriots in this.
Yeah, I agree. I got the Patriots. I think they're going to neutralize LA's pass rush just like they did with Kansas City. I think the Rams are inexperienced, and I think they're way over their heads. They don't know what they're doing.
That's what she said.
And I think that I think that the Patriots win this one by 8. I got them 31-23. So yeah, it's no surprise. Isaac?
Give me the beat Patriots. I mean, Tom Brady is going to get another ring and add to his massive collection. And please believe me, I'm going to be rooting for these Rams the whole entire night. But yeah, Patriots are going to win this. I mean, the Rams, they had a great season, and McVay's a great coach. Gurley's great. Goff's okay. But I mean, I just, yeah, give me Patriots.
Well, I appreciate you censoring yourself. For that.
You're welcome, because you cut out my F word on the show doc, so I thought I would just beep it out this time.
No, I did. And now that I've learned how to really use the audio editing software, I just would have cut it out anyway. So.
Yeah, just in case you guys didn't know,
Roasted.
apparently I say the F word a little too much, so I got to cut back. So if I offend anyone, please, I'm apologizing to you. If not, then tell them that you actually like it, so I can actually start saying it back again. Cool, thanks.
Awesome. Well, that's it. That's it for the show, guys. Sorry if we came off kind of sluggish. It was the second time we've done that, and it takes a lot out of you, to have.
That's what she said.
That's what she said. After the first one. Oh, wait, hold on.
Is that dirty enough for you?
There we go. I didn't get to use that one.
That's what she said.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Mike. We didn't talk about Dirty Mike and the boys. So.
No, I've actually got the Dirty Mike and the Boys sound drop now, where he's like, "Are you Dirty Mike?"
Oh my God! Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now. So when we talk about Mike, we'll use that one. So, all right, guys. So that's it for this show. I know that we have a lot of fun doing this. I'm excited for next week. Again, if any players you want to talk about, feel free to comment, text us, whatever you'd like to do. But we have a lot of that, more of that later in the off season. So,
and guys, please, guys or girls, I'm not being biased here. Give us feedback. If you like certain things we do on the show, please let us know. If you don't like things, let us know. We want to make this show that everybody enjoys it just as much as we enjoy making it.
Yeah, exactly. We want to know what works so we can do that and then cut the stuff that doesn't work. If you like Boom Roasted, let me know. If you don't, that sucks. I won't keep doing it. So just get over it.
Too bad. We're going to do it anyways.
Too bad. I like that one, so it's staying. And it's our show. But all right, guys. With that, we're out. So we'll see you guys next week.
See you.
Bye.